Hello friends, welcome to CSES group. Now we will be discussing about the control system portion of electrical engineering optional of UPSC CSE mains, which has been asked in 2019. I have divided this lecture into two parts. This part contains first two questions which are asked from the control system, and the other part will consist of the rest of the two questions from the control system portion only. Let us start then. Question number 1C is explain the gain margin and phase margin of control system for the Nyquist stability criterion. Before moving to the Nyquist stability criterion and then the gain margin and phase margin, we'll first discuss that how the polar plot will change with respect to the gain. So this is a general polar plot for a system, for open loop system whose gain is given and that is designated by the K. Now if you plot the polar plot with respect to the variation in gain, that is the K factor, you will find that when the gain value is small, that is here, you were encircling before -1. At some value of K, you will fall exactly at -1 plus J0, and if the K is increasing, you will go towards the left side. Okay, so that means what? When the K is increasing, you are more towards the instability because you are more likely to encircle the -1 plus J0. So this is what the general method or general understanding about the polar plot, how it is changing with respect to the gain K. So please look at here again. When the gain K is changing, you are more likely to encircle the -1 plus J0 point. And that's how you can find out whether the system is stable or not. And then let us come to the gain margin and phase margin. So phase margin, first of all understand what is the definition of phase margin. The phase margin is that amount of additional phase at the gain crossover frequency required to bring the system to the verge of instability. That means if that particular phase has been added to the system, then the system will become unstable, okay, or unstable. So look at this board plot, that is the gain versus frequency for two systems. One is stable, the other one is unstable. Let us start with the stable system. So definition of phase margin says when the gain crosses the 0 dB. For that frequency value, you need to determine the phase. And this value of phase is called as the phase margin. Okay. So I'll repeat again. The point or the frequency value for which the gain is 0, for that the phase angle will give you the phase margin. So that is what is called as the phase margin. So gain cross, I am writing here the gain crossover frequency is the frequency at which the GJ omega magnet modulus of that is unity. Okay, so this is what the point is where the mod of GJ omega is unity. Then the phase margin gamma is 180 degree plus the phase angle phi of the open loop transfer function at the gain crossover frequency. That means you need to determine this angle. Okay, so whatever the angle you are finding at this point, you have to add 180 degrees to it, and that will give you the phase margin of the system. Look at the unstable system. See, unstable system gain crossover frequency is here. With respect to that, the phase angle will give you the phase margin. Okay, so the phase margin is falling here. And then if you add 180, you will find the phase margin comes out to be negative. This must be V. Then it comes out to be negative. Similarly, if you look at the stable system plot again, you'll find that if you add 180 to it, since you will get a value which is less than -180 or between -180 to -90, obviously we'll end up with a positive value. Okay, you can say that for this case the system is stable, for this case the system is unstable. But please remember, this is not the only criteria by which you can comment on the stability of the system. Okay, you need to know what is the gain margin also. So that we'll see in the next slide. Now let us come to the Nyquist plot. So Nyquist plot, basically we look for -1 plus J0 point. Now look at the Nyquist plot of the stable system, that is this one. We are looking for the intersection of the Nyquist curve or the polar plot for -1 plus J0 circle. If you have a circle drawn for -1 plus J0, that means if you have a circle like this, okay, and the point of intersection to this circle with respect to the polar plot, which comes out to be this value, okay. Now this angle, that means the phi angle plus 180, this angle if you calculate starting from here and going downwards, and if you add 180 to it, you will get the phase margin of the system. Okay. Similarly, for the unstable system, you will be encircling -1 plus J0 point. Obviously, then you will be intersecting the unity circle somewhere here, and then the phase angle will be more than -180 because you are going in the opposite direction like this. And if you add 180 to it, definitely you will end up with a negative value of phase margin. So here you will get a negative phase margin value. And this is how you can easily determine the phase margin of the system using Nyquist plot. Now coming to the gain margin, again we need to understand the gain margin idea with respect to the board plot first, and then we will go for the polar plot or the Nyquist plot. So gain margin for a system is the gain at phase crossover frequency. Now what is phase crossover frequency? Phase crossover frequency means when the phase angle intersects -180 degree value or -180 degree axis. So this encircled part shows you that the phase is -180. So this is called as phase crossover frequency. Now at this point, what is the gain of the system will help you in identifying the gain margin. Similarly, if you look for the unstable system, now the phase angle is -180 for this point. Now corresponding to this frequency, if you identify the gain, then that will be called as the gain margin. So defining the phase crossover frequency is, it is the omega 1 to be the frequency at which the phase angle of open loop transfer function equals to -180, and the gain margin is given as 1 upon gj omega. Okay, so you need to reciprocate it, and then you have to take the 20 log of that value. So logarithmic value you are always calculating. Now how you will identify using the Nyquist plot? Now look at here, you need to find out how much distance is still there for the system to reach -1 plus J0 point, that is here. Similarly, how much distance you have crossed with respect to -1 plus J0 point for the unstable system. Okay, so you need to come back with respect to that. In that case, you can make this unstable system to a stable, and here this range, and here this range, that is this point to this point, gives you the gain margin for which the system will be stable, or if you reach this value, then you will be at the verge of instability. So you'll get the sustained oscillation, and afterwards when you are somewhere here, that means if your Nyquist plot crosses like this, then you will get oscillations in the system which will not converge, okay, which is shown here in case of unstable system. So the gain margin, if expressed in decibel, is positive, that is kg is greater than 1, then the system is stable, and is negative, that is kg is less than 1, then it is unstable. Please understand, if you are not aware of the Nyquist plot, then it is very difficult to understand this portion, because this will be understood only when you are good with the polar plot and you are very well in the Nyquist plot. So guys, if you are not able to understand all these concepts, please write in the comment section such that I can make a separate video starting from the scratch, that how the mapping is done, how the polar plot is done, and then how the Nyquist plot can be identified using polar plot. Please give that in the comment section. But otherwise, if you are aware of that, then this is the answer which is been asked by the UPSC. So this much is required for that portion. The second portion of the same question is, derive the expression for the center and the radius of a constant magnitude loci, that is M circle, of a unity feedback control system, and draw the circles for M is equals to 0, 0.5, 1, 1.2, 1.6, 2.0 and 3. Please understand what we are doing. We are only looking for the magnitude. See, M circles only deals with the magnitude of the system. Okay, that you have to always understand. And unity feedback means the open loop transfer function, which we are writing as GH or GJ omega HJ omega. Here the H is equals to 1. Okay, then you are calling that as the unity feedback system. Okay, so that is here I am just writing GJ omega dot 1. And consider that it is the generalized expression can be in a form of x plus jy. Okay, and if you see, the magnitude or the m can be written as gj omega divided by 1 plus gj omega, right? So this is what the closed loop transfer function. Then you can see that the m can be expressed as x plus jy divided by 1 plus x plus jy. Okay, so what you are doing, you are essentially substituting the value of g in these two places, and then you have to take the modulus of this. So once you take the mod, you will find this as the under root of x square plus y square, and the denominator will become under root of 1 plus x whole square plus y square. Okay, and squaring both the sides and rearranging the terms, you will end up with 1 minus m square into x square minus 2m square x plus 1 minus m square into y square is equals to m square. So please understand what we are looking for. The name of the question or the method itself is M circle. So when you are getting this equation, you are actually looking for writing the same equation in the standard form of the circle equation, standard STD form of circle. Okay, so circle's equation you need to form here using this expression, and that can be written in this way. Okay, so what I am doing, I am trying to convert the same equation into circle's equation, and I have rearranged it. This portion I have taken in the denominator, so this will also vanish, and here in the denominator of m square you will get the same term. Okay, so that is here in this expression, and then I am adding m square divided by 1 minus m square whole square to both the sides. Doing so, you will see that your equation looks like this, and easily you can converge the first three terms using the standard quadratic equation formula. It is x minus m square divided by 1 minus m square whole square plus y square is equals to m divided by 1 minus m square whole square. Okay, so this value gives you the radius, and this gives the location of a circle in which direction it is extending. You need to understand it is always fixed with respect to the y. Okay, that is why the circle plot or the M circle plot looks like this. It is always fixed with respect to the y, and it is moving with respect to the x. So that is why it is either moving in this direction or moving in this direction. So if you carefully examine this figure, you will find for m value equal to 1.2, the circle looks like this. For m value equal to 1.3, 3 looks like this, and so on. So if you keep on increasing, you will move towards this direction. And if your m value is less than 1, then you are moving this direction. Okay? So this is what the first question from the control system portion in 2019. The next question is 3b, and this says sketch the root locus of the open loop transfer function GSHS equals to k divided by s into s plus 6 into s square plus 4s plus 13. And what they are asking for, they are asking to determine the angle of departure, breakaway points, intersection with imaginary axis, the stability condition. So please remember guys, the root locus steps covers all these points. So what I am doing, I am plotting its root locus for you step by step. So let us start with the first step. First step of the root locus is always determining the number of poles and zeros of this function. So number of poles in this equation is, look at this equation, number of poles are 4, one it has s equals to 0, s equal to minus 6, and s equal to minus 2 plus minus j3. Okay, so these 4 different poles are there in your equation. And please remember, there is no numerator term with s, that means there is no 0 in this open loop transfer function. Now next step is to determine number of branches of the root locus. Number of branches is always equals to n equal to p if poles are more than zeros, or it is equals to z if zeros are greater than poles. Okay, so in this case there is no zeros, hence you are having only poles. So with respect to that, you can say there will be 4 different branches in the root locus. Now let us plot the open loop poles in real imaginary axis. Now this is the imaginary part, that is the vertical axis, and that's the horizontal, and you have 4 different poles. So first pole is at origin, let us make a cross here. The other pole is at minus 6, and there are 2 complex poles which are here. Okay, so I am plotting that. Now in this step we will see the existence of root locus on the real axis. So existence of root locus, what you have to do, there is a thumb rule that you need to stand or check with respect to some point and see on the other side, that is the right side, and count the number of roots in the right hand side. If the number of count is even, if it is even, then no root locus in RL I am writing. Okay, if it is odd, then there exists a root locus. If it is odd, then there exists a root locus. Now if you stand exactly at s equal to 0 and look into this side, you will find there is no root, that means it is even, so no root locus in this portion. If you stand somewhere here and look into this side, you will find yes, there exists one root at s equal to 0, hence the root locus exists between these 2 points. Similarly, if you stand here in this imaginary axis, sorry, in this real axis, and look into this side, the right hand side with respect to this particular line, you will find it is still 1, that is the odd count, hence root locus exists between these 2 points. If you stand exactly at s equal to minus 6 and look into this side, still it is odd count. If you stand somewhere at s equal to minus 7, if you see that now the number of roots on the real axis is even, hence there is no root locus in this side. Okay, so finally your root locus exists between s equal to 0 and s equal to minus 6. So let me remove this portion, and so I am highlighting it here. So root locus exists between these 2 points. And one more important point, root locus always starts with open loop pole and terminates at open loop 0. If 0 is not there, then they will terminate somewhere at k equal to infinity. So from each open loop pole, your root locus will start. So that is why the direction of arrow for s equal to -6 is towards the right side, and for s equal to 0, it is towards the left hand side. Now let us draw the asymptotes to have the root locus. So for that we need to find out the intersection of asymptotes on the real axis, and it is given by x is equals to summation p minus summation z divided by p minus z, where summation p means number of the poles values that you have to sum. Similarly, 0 values you need to sum, and this capital P denotes the number of pole and this denotes the number of zeros. So if you see, summation P comes out to be 0 plus minus 6 plus these two values. Okay, so this portion and this portion will vanish. You will only end up with minus 6, minus 2 and minus 2. So that is minus 10. Okay, and you have P equal to 4. Hence it is 10 by 4 with a negative sign, and it comes out to be minus 2.5. So the asymptote will intersect at minus 2.5. So I am marking it here. Look at the diagram below. And the angle of asymptote is given by 2k plus 1 into 180 divided by p minus z. And the k goes from 0, 1, 2 and 3. So if you solve this equation, you will find 45 degrees, 135, 225 and 315. So let us plot these asymptotes. So 45 is here. So this angle will come, then you have 135, so this will come, then you have 225, so this will come, and then 315, so this will come. Okay, so these are the asymptotes with respect to the given open loop transfer function. Next we will go for the breakaway point, which is one of the requirement of the question. So breakaway point, let us see how we can identify that. So breakaway point is identified using the characteristic equation. So characteristic equation you need to first draw. So characteristic equation is given by 1 plus gh is 0. Okay, so gh is given to you, you need to add 1 to it and then equate that to 0. So 1 plus gh is equals to 0. If I do that, I will find the characteristic equation like this. Then you need to differentiate it once. If you differentiate the given equation, you will end up with a third order equation. So that means 3 different poles will come, or 3 different roots will come in this case, which are minus 4.2 and then minus 1.6 and plus minus 1.3j. So let us not consider this complex value at this moment, because I am only interested in the real values. So this minus 4.2 obviously lies between the root locus, which exists from 0 to 6. So this is called as the breakaway point. That means what? One of the root locus will start from s equal to 0 and the other will start from s equal to minus 6, and they will coincide at 4.2. So this is what the meaning of breakaway point. Okay, again all these names are very intuitive in nature, so if you could understand the meaning of these terms, then you can easily correlate with the given idea. Then the angle of departure, why departure term is used? Because you have only poles, and from the poles the root locus starts. Okay, so that is why the departure term is given for this case. If there are zeros, then it is angle of arrival, because root locus terminates at the 0, hence there is called as angle of arrival. Now how you will identify this angle of departure? Let us consider this complex root. For this complex root, you need to consider the angle contribution with respect to rest of the roots. Okay, so you are having rest of the 3 different roots. You need to draw the vectors and find out these angles. So 5p1 is here, this is 5p2, and then this is phi p3. Okay, so this is obviously 90 degrees. These two values you can, phi p1 and phi p2 can be easily identified using the trigonometry Pythagorean theorem, and that comes out to be phi p1 as 123.6, phi p2 is 36.86, phi p3 obviously 90 degrees, and the angle of departure formula is 180 degree minus angle due to poles plus angle due to zeros. So you don't have any zero here, that is why there is no third term. You have only poles, so pole angle comes out to be the summation of these three values, and then you have 180 minus all that. So it comes as minus 70.46. Please understand the symmetricity. If this is minus 70, then everything is same with respect to this horizontal axis. So for this root minus 2 minus 3j, this will become plus 70.46. Okay, so that will come as plus 70. So this is also one of the direct question which is asked in the given numerical, that what is the angle of departure. So how to plot that angle of departure? Let us consider our horizontal line with respect to minus 2 plus j3 and draw minus 70.46. So obviously minus 70.46 will go in the downward direction, and this is what the angle. So with this angle, the root locus will start. Similarly, minus 2 minus j3, its angle is plus 70. So with this angle, the other root locus will start, and since you are having already the asymptote which gives the probable tracking of the original root locus, and you know that the root locus which is starting from s equal to 0 and which is starting from s equal to minus 6, they both are coinciding at minus 4.2. Obviously when they will coincide, they will follow this trajectory or trajectory here. Okay, this trajectory they will follow, because that's what your angle of asymptotes gives you the idea. Now let us complete the last portion of this root locus. Now you know that the root locus from these complex poles will start with minus 70 and with plus 70, but where they will coincide with the imaginary axis. So that can be identifying using Routh-Hurwitz tabulation. Again you need to form the characteristic equation and then solve for the Routh-Hurwitz. Okay, so if you solve Routh-Hurwitz table for this, and if you consider this term, okay, for s to the power 1 term, that is the second last row, this will give you the criterion for intersection with the imaginary axis. How you are doing so? See, in the Routh-Hurwitz table, if this value is 0, okay, in place of this, if it comes as 0, that means for that value of k, the root locus is crossing the imaginary axis, or for that value of k, the roots of the characteristic equation will have imaginary part only. They will not have any realistic part or real part, sorry. So let us equate this to 0. So minus 78, this line you need to equate to 0. So 78 minus 0.34 k is equals to 0. You will find that k comes out to be 229.4. Now intersection point can be identified by considering the previous term. You need to form the auxiliary equation. So auxiliary equation is identified using this. 29.2 s square plus k, where k is 229.4, and then solve the equation. You will find the s value comes out to be plus minus j 2.98. So this is also one of the portion which is asked in this question, that determine the intersection with the imaginary axis. So these are the intersections. Now please understand, From this complex pole, the root locus will start making an angle of minus 70.4, and then they will intersect the imaginary axis at this point, and then they will depart or they will move in this way and terminate somewhere at k equal to infinity. Similarly, the root locus which is starting from this complex pole will intersect at minus 2.98 j and will terminate somewhere at k equal to infinity. Okay, and the last question in this given root locus is to determine the stability of the system. So system will be stable only for the value of k which is less than 229.4. Please understand why it is so. Look at the root locus plot. When the k value is below 229, all the root locus shows that everything is in the left hand side of this S plane with respect to the 0 or with respect to the origin. Okay, so everything is in the left hand side. As long as you are in the left hand side, you are in a stable condition. Once you move to the right side of this S plane with respect to the origin, then you will move to the unstable system. That means for k less than 229, the system is always stable. That's it for 2019, the first part. In the second part, we will discuss the rest of the two questions which are asked in 2019 from the control system paper 2 of the electrical engineering optional. Thank you. Jai Hind.